Okay, listen, hear me out. Maybe this is just a me question, maybe it's not. But have you ever wondered what's going on in the C-suite? Because I ask myself that all the time. I have no idea how C-level managers are setting strategies, how they're evaluating the markets, how they're taking a step back, how they know which direction to take the business in. I find that process fascinating. And so I am very excited to be joined today by Ed Vasko, a CISSP, someone with 33 years of experience in cybersecurity, a serial entrepreneur, and thus has been a CEO multiple times, and is the new current CEO of High Wire Overwatch. He also was a former director of Boise State University's Institute of Pervasive Cybersecurity and was a senior vice president at Avertium and the co-founder and CEO of TerraVerde. So welcome. Let's get into it. So Ed, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. I'm looking forward to it.
So before we start, I would like to ask a clarifying question about how long you've been the CEO of Overwatch at Highwire, because I think it's been quite recently.
It has. As of right now, I've been CEO for about 32 total days.
Do CEOs make a 30, 60, 90-day plan?
Well, typically, surprisingly, we do at least a 90-day plan. So,
Yeah.
the great part though is the Highwire team. I started doing some advising, some business advising with them before taking on the role officially. So I've had a chance to kind of understand a little bit about what they do, but really the first 90 days are all about, tell me, teach me, help me understand the business as a whole.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
before Highwire Networks, you had your own company that you founded and you were the CEO of called TerraVerde, which you
Hmm.
sold and then became Avertium. Um,
Yes.
and before that, can you give me a brief overview of your CEO journey?
Sure, sure. So I'm going to set the Wayback Machine about 3 decades, a little over 3 decades ago. I've actually been in the cybersecurity industry for 33 years. And over that 33-year career, have had the CEO role 5 times at 5 different companies, all of which, for the most part, I bootstrapped or started on my own. The last one being TerraVerde, and sold that to private equity in 2018. By that time, we had grown it to be one of the top MSSPs, managed security service providers in the country. And we became essentially the founding company, the foundational company for a number of mergers that occurred to form Avertium. And then after Avertium, I departed Avertium in early 2020 after leading a lot of the M&A effort, but I decided to take on a different thesis, and that was uh, essentially taking my startup experience to assist with workforce development across the country. So I made a pivot into higher education, and worked with a number of universities, specifically Boise State University in Boise, Idaho, where I'm now located.
Oh, go
And
Broncos.
yeah, exactly. So help them become not just known about the blue football field, but really help them grow their cyber national presence. So have had a wonderful journey, 4 years of time there. We've done some amazing things, recognized by the White House, recognized by industry for some phenomenal work that myself and others, faculty members and staff have all been able to do. But ultimately, the entrepreneur spirit and the CEO spirit prevail in me over my career. And I had a chance to join Highwire, like I said, as an advisor first, but then take on the CEO mantle of the Overwatch team about 32 days ago.
Have all of your previous CEO experiences been things that you have been involved in from the ground up?
Yes. So the other experiences I've had from a purely from a CEO or from a startup perspective have been bootstrapped under my own ideas and going to market in that fashion. So, but I have worked extensively in other larger industries and smaller companies through my career.
Yeah, does it feel different to come into a CEO role when the systems and the people are already so in place?
It is, and it's I think the great part there is, the opportunity for both Highwire and for myself was in that kind of advising space was to get to know each other and to see the great work that Highwire put forward to build Overwatch to where it is, the culture that has been established, and to know that what I have a chance to now step into is groundwork that's already been laid and a strong foundation that's already been put in place, and that it helps accelerate the overall success journey that we're now on.
Hmm. Yeah, I what I actually want to know about that, I think,
Mhm.
is how do you feel about it? It seems exciting.
It is. It is. It really is. I mean, I think that's what was phenomenally enticing for me. Was as I was at Boise State, kind of looking at what did I want to do next, and what was the next phase of my career journey. That in one sense, the process in my mind was, well, do what you've done before, build it, build from the ground up. And and what's been interesting is that what I appreciate about the cybersecurity sector as a whole is how fast and how dynamic it continually changes.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think not to be patronizing, but I think you should be really proud of yourself. I think that's really exciting.
Oh, I appreciate that. I do. I do. Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. And as far as starting as a new CEO goes, and that 90-day plan, I guess, how are you taking a step back, looking at everything, and then coming up with a strategy?
Yeah, so I think this is the other benefit. It's not quite emotional, but there's more of an analytic aspect to it, and that is, it's a compare and contrast. If I was building a company from scratch, I'll use Terra Verde as an example. There's the concept of laying out the plan and then trying to execute against that plan, knowing that no good plan survives first contact. You have to have flexibility, and you have to have kind of a dynamic mindset that you're going to climb a mountain, but the pathway that you initially choose may not be the pathway that gets you to the top of the mountain. And so what you're doing though is that from day one you are in this constant mindset of, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And not just, it sounds like doubt, but it's more of a constant evaluation question. And the benefit of coming into a new role like this is that you actually come in knowing all that work to get to this point, that day one start has already been done for you. And
Hmm.
so you can come in with fresh eyes and a very non-emotional perspective, and start asking questions that, in my first two companies, harkening way back, in my first two companies, I probably admittedly, I lacked some of the emotional maturity because I was very young. Lacked a lot of the emotional maturity to ask myself the critical questions, and over time, was able to do that at Terra Verde, and now with Overwatch, I can come in with a non-emotive and non-emotionally focused effort to ask the hard questions that come back to, why, and what is our why, and what is our how, and what is the value that we're providing, and then collect that information from the team. And then, I come back again and say, recognize that there's been some phenomenal work done here, and the foundation that's been set is just it's beautiful. I have no better way to say it.
Right. Okay. What I'm hearing you saying is that you put on your analytical mind for when you're coming up with these strategies. Now, my follow-up question that has come to mind from that is when do you turn on your emotions as a CEO?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think, I come back and I say, the will to win, the hard, the competitive aspect, there's an emotional element there, and infusing that, and enhancing it within the team. But more so than anything else, I think it's coming back and leading with empathy. A good example, we have a couple of team members who are in North Carolina. One's in Asheville, one's in Greenville, and with the storm that's just rampaged through there, making certain that they understand that we're there to help them however we possibly can, and that they're not an impassive, you know, again, Zoom screen or Teams member that's on Microsoft Teams or on Zoom. We recognize it collectively that they're humans, and that's part of being in a service industry as we are.
Yeah, I think especially as millennials come into the workplace more and more, and we're trending more towards the need for empathy and the need for being a human, and less towards arcade rooms in the office and beanbag chairs. People just want to be heard. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. So to take a step back and go back to the strategies and setting strategies, evaluating things, having your analytical mind on, how do you evaluate what new markets or growth potential options for your company is?
Well, that's kind of the core of these 90 days, right?
Hmm.
It's laying out the strategy. It's helping again build upon the work that's been done,
Right.
and recognize that there are new areas to go. And I would say that what we see right away as a team is and recognize right away is that there's been this terrific ecosystem development within Highwire, and having a very specific focus on the managed service space and helping enable managed service providers throughout the country, and help provide security services for their customers. I think that's paramount to Highwire's success, and you know how we enhance that, how we grow that, how we leverage the terrific work that's been done to build the ecosystem that's been built for Highwire Overwatch and grow it is really where we're driving to. So some examples, it's understanding that channel being channel focused means that there's opportunity to look at the hub and spoke aspects of channels. Help one provide service to many.
Hmm.
And a good example from Terra Verdi's days that I see an opportunity here at Highwire Overwatch is, we had a very channel focused effort as well. We focused on areas where retail brands, very good example, retail brands that have a franchise model. That's a very similar approach to a managed service provider. Franchisors are, really the hub, and the franchisees within their ecosystem make up the necessary spokes. And what franchisors provide is, a technology stack and an operating stack that help those franchisees be successful and align corporate, brand and corporate direction and so forth. All of that to say that that's not dissimilar at all to what a managed service provider does within their channel ecosystem, their end customers. We also had a focus around telecommunication providers, and so how can we help that hub of this, the one provider provide a consistent quality of service out to their end customer ecosystem. And so we see you really taking the same kind of sales and marketing and support service delivery motions that have already been developed, and in some cases really strongly, a high quality developed by the Overwatch team to date, and just simply move them into net new areas, and in doing so tell the story, tell the great story of what Overwatch has achieved, because telling that story helps to show credibility. It helps to show that there are very strong similarities between the let's say the managed services space, and again, a large retail brand. And those similarities all come back to how do I deliver to a single customer a way and a method to enable consistent quality of service, high quality of service to their end customers in a way that's consistent, and in a way that provides a degree of quality of service that is unmatched in the industry.
Yeah. Okay, I do want to talk more about channel selling, but
Mhm.
I guess I specifically want to know, with regards to setting strategy, how you're identifying new areas to grow into. Like, what questions are you asking? Who are you asking? Like, how are you doing that to determine where new business should come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I'll start kind of more. I'll start with a story, and then I'll come back around into the strategy and how that's being developed. The story starts with an understanding, the interesting title of the institute that I ran at Boise State University. The title of the institute was the Institute for Pervasive Cybersecurity, and that being that I try to help audiences understand that cybersecurity is everywhere. In the 21st century, it's no different than how pervasive technology is. And there's not a thing that we're using today, or not a thing in the rooms that we're in, that we can point to that doesn't have some sort of cybersecurity element. I actually had a student raise their hand in such a conversation and point to the analog clock on the wall and say, well, there's nothing in cybersecurity about that analog clock. And it took me a second, but the reality is that there's a supply chain, there's distribution, there are people that are involved in that entire process. And so all of this data and all of this information and all the things that help build that analog clock, there's a cybersecurity aspect to it. And so I say that and then give that story to help hopefully give a perspective that cybersecurity is so pervasive, and that the sector is so broad that it's actually a benefit and a challenge. And so what we're doing is we're looking at specific kinds of sectors, industry sectors, that are supportive to and enhancing to the work that the Overwatch team has already done prior to my joining. And with a mindset towards looking always for greenfield. There's the concept of greenfield and blue sky, very similar. Find where your competition is not. And so we're right now in the process of identifying. We've identified a few of those new sectors, but also identified there are specific areas of need across the nation where the need is so great that it's almost an all hands on deck approach, where every service provider can come into those kinds of sectors, and we still won't have enough work, or we still won't have enough coverage for that entire sector. And a good example of that right now really is, the first one that comes to mind is manufacturing. The manufacturing space, how critical it is to the nation, and especially within the defense industry. So, if I pivot from there, the need for CMMC, the cybersecurity manufacturing maturity, program, that's being put forth by the Defense Industrial Base, the DIB. That is an area where there's so many different manufacturers that support the building of our defense industry, and any adversarial nation state that could come in there and impact that supply chain has huge ramifications, potentially huge ramifications for us nationally, from a national security standpoint. And the other space happens to be the critical infrastructure space. So everything from gas, power, gas, electric, hospital systems, and just how we get the things that keep the lights on and keep our society running. Those two sectors are so large that we don't have enough people, let alone enough service providers to actually cover that entire sector. So certainly you want to choose some of those, but you also want to be able to choose those kinds of industries and those kinds of net new markets that help grow and are ancillary to what brought you here. So what got you to here? So that's why I come back and I think, using the work that we did at Terra Verde and the successes we had there, that we have this terrific ecosystem of managed service providers within High Wire, and that's been built out through the Overwatch platform. And now it's a chance for us to be able to say, well, how do we take that same message, that same success message, and move it to a tangential market? Maybe it's telcos, telecommunication providers. Maybe it's again franchise brands, but it's those areas that have very strong similarities to the managed service provider space, where I sell to one group and then provide services out to a broader ecosystem. So it's a little bit of a combination of both of those. It's recognizing that there are sectors where maybe there's not there's so many different competitors in that space that it doesn't make sense for us to go into. Those are oversaturated. So we want to find those sectors that have broad strength for a lot of providers, and then also continue to build on what got us here and find those tangential routes to market that are very similar to what we already do.
Right. And those similar routes of markets then are other MSPs, are you saying? Or
Yeah, they very well. I mean, so in some sense, it is building upon the base of channel that we've already developed. Certainly, continuing to grow and expand our offerings within the managed service provider space. But it's also looking for, as an example, the tangentiality of a channel like a retail brand, a very large retail brand, very similar kind of sales motion, very similar kind of delivery motion, because I'm selling to one that then encompasses many. And in doing so, that's a good example of an area of focus for us, where retail brands may come into play. It may also be data centers. As an example, data centers have themselves, typically some form of base cybersecurity capabilities, but they also recognize that in order to scale and continue to provide growth to their customers, they need to continually refresh and refine their portfolio. And that's where a partnership with a company like Overwatch can help them by providing support and assistance out to their end customers.
right. And do you know these areas of growth opportunities because you're doing some kind of market analysis, or do you know because you've been a CEO half a dozen times?
Well, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. So there's actually an aspect here, that I always like to say, cyber security is an industry where if you're not waking up every day and learning something new, something's wrong. You probably shouldn't be in
You're
this
getting
space.
left behind.
Yeah, you're getting left behind. And so over my career, what that means is that I don't necessarily wake up every day and try to find the how to reverse engineer the latest greatest piece of ransomware, or go try to find details on the latest and greatest threat actors. I have teams to do that. My job is to really look at the overarching, the holistic view, and then trying to really analyze those. And then, more than anything else, rather than just simply saying that's the new hill we're going to climb, bring a lot of that knowledge and own personal analysis, bring that into my team and ask them, do you see this? Do you see this? Are we aligned here, or are you seeing something different? Because ultimately, it's not a single decision. It's a team decision. It's just where the CEO gets a chance to apply their specific kinds of skills and capabilities. It's keeping people moving consistently and moving together towards a common goal. So
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
No, I think it does. And I think what I've gathered from that is that your ability to take a step back and assess the situation has come with your experience. Because I don't think I could do that today. And it seems really difficult. And that's why
You
you're the
have,
CEO.
yeah, well, yeah, I think I would say this, it is a learned skill.
Hmm.
It is not something that's intrinsic. I think it's something I truly believe that if you have the want, I think that's probably the only thing, is that you have to have the want to say, I'm going to detach myself and look at this non-emotionally and provide that analytics, but then also, like I said, recognize that there's a great work and great effort that's been put forward to get to the point that you're at. So it's not coming in and saying, this is all bad. You have to find those. You have to find that silver lining, and you have to come in with a glass half full kind of perspective to think versus a different perspective that just takes you down a path of that just ultimately isn't going to align towards that CEO leader mentality. And so I
Yeah.
believe everybody can do that. I really do. I think that everybody has something in them that uh, a passion, drive, whatever that happens to be, that allows them in the right kind of moment, the right kind of space to really exemplify those kinds of capabilities. Finding
Yeah.
it's the hard part. Finding it on your journey, on your life journey,
Yeah.
that's the real hard effort.
Yeah.
I just got very lucky. I got very lucky to find it, in my journey as an entrepreneur, and from a CEO and leader perspective, to say, yep, I'm passionate about this particular sector. I love this space. I love the service orientation of cyber. I know I have a very, very big service heart. At least I've been told. And to me, it's about creating value and giving back to people.
Mm.
And I think that's everybody has that. I hope. I believe everybody has that in them. It's just a matter of finding their pathway towards that success.
Yeah. And I hope that this conversation has given people the opportunity to bring out their own personal CEO magic. And I'm
I
very
like that.
grateful. Yeah, I'm
I,
grateful
like.
to have the opportunity to chat with you to get your perspective on things because I think getting into a CEO mindset is a difficult thing and maybe it's come inherently for you it seems, but it's tricky. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all the questions. This has been great. If there's ever a need for us to do it again, please reach out.
Amazing. If we want to find you and what you're working on online, where can we look?
Well, first and foremost, I'd ask you to go to High Wire Networks, all one word, highwirenetworks.com. And don't hesitate to reach out through that. You can find me on LinkedIn. And rather than trying to go through my LinkedIn URL, I can gladly provide that on out to people or to you. And I think I am deeply involved and deeply engaged in a couple of different areas outside of my CEO role. To me, it's about developing next generation. As I like to put it, I'll show you my Star Wars geek cred for a second. The younglings of the world, as I like to call them, the people who are coming, people generationally who are coming after to help them see a great pathway to a great career in cyber, to help enable them on that pathway. It has been a joy of my career to work with people who are curious about cyber and are wondering how they could be part of this, and then helping them develop their own pathway to success. It is a wonderful thing to see. And so I'm quite involved in that. And then I'm also a college football fan, so go Broncos, like you said.
Hmm.
I appreciate it. And look, so I'd say Highwire Networks, if you want to find us, we'd love to have you. We'd love the conversation.
Or at the next Broncos game.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
If you liked this episode of Let's Talk About It, thanks so much for listening. See you next time.